happy for you to be here, even if you're not talking. I'm very happy with that. But you've got to let us know, and then I won't ask you any questions, and you won't slow down the class. Okay, so please, guys, just go to the chat and just let us know if you can't talk today. Just say, sorry, Alan, can't talk. You can see an example on my screen. Look at these very polite people telling me. So just let me know. So Elif is saying, I cannot speak. No worries, Elif. Anyone else? Just quickly before we get going. All right, and we're going to be live on YouTube just for a little bit. So let's get started. Quick questions. Does anyone have any questions quickly before I start? Got some hands up here. Okay, put your hands down. Let's start this class. So microphones off, please. The class is starting now, okay? Okay, so this is OET language. We're going to look at present perfect continuous today. So we're going to change the focus away from present perfect simple, okay, to actually a new tense. And I'll explain how that tense differences between the two, okay? As usual, we're going to start off and we're going to try and do 3 things. I hope everyone can see this here. Does everyone see this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. And because of the time, I won't play my game. I'll just go straight into this. We're going to have what is present perfect continuous. We'll start off with this. But then we're going to have a diagram, and then we're going to have exercises. Okay. So very, very quick review. Before we do that, very quick review. Okay. Everyone, what did we study the last 3 days?
Present perfect.
Present perfect.
Simple.
We looked at present perfect simple. Okay. And just very, very quickly, we've done this for 3 days now. So I hope you guys can tell me, is it finished or unfinished present perfect simple?
Both. Finished and unfinished.
We have a finished action version, and we also have an unfinished version. And we might say, for example, with the unfinished, I could say Ismail, if it's okay. I'll use your name. Ismail has lived in, where do you live?
I live in Edgware, London.
I live in London. For how long?
For 1.5 years.
Okay, let's just say 2 years, okay?
2 years.
So this would be an example of present perfect with an unfinished meaning. We studied this already. We can use since, we can use for here. Ismail, is it important to use these words, since and for?
Yes, for me it's important because I'm still living here and it's unfinished action.
Yeah, if you want to make it unfinished, you have to use since or for. Okay. The finished actions, I'm not going to go for too long in this, but I just want to see if you guys can remember. I gave you lots of different meanings. One of them was recently happened, right? Do you guys remember?
Yes.
Like, I have just made a cup of tea. I have just made a cup of tea. What was number 2? Does anyone remember number 2?
Important life experience.
Yeah, important life experiences. For some reason, when we are talking about children or travel or some very, very serious thing that happened, we use the present perfect because we're trying to say that it's changed who we are as a person. That's the idea. It's changing who we are as a person. What was number 3 from the last 3 days? So we had recently happened, life experience.
Time period.
Time period, inside time.
So an unfinished time period. So inside, how did Paul put this? Inside,
a time period.
Today.
Right, an unfinished time period. So I might say
open.
Yeah, an open, that was it. Thank you. That's a nice way of saying it. Smaller. Inside an open time period, you could say, for example, I have had 2 cups of tea this morning. I have had, present perfect, 2 cups of tea this morning. Is the morning finished?
No.
No.
So we often use it to talk about an action inside an open time period. Okay. The last one, my favorite one, the most important one would be a present result. And the one I always like to use, I remember I learned this when I was teaching in Spain. I have left the window open. I have left the window open. Is the window closed now or is it open now?
So
I have left the window
closed.
Let me write it on the screen, okay? I have left the window Open. Is it open or closed now?
Still open.
Open.
Right.
Still open.
I could also say I have closed the window. Is it open or closed now?
Closed.
Okay. The action of closing it, is that finished or unfinished? The action.
The action is finished.
Finished.
The effect and the result is still.
But the result is still here, right? So does anyone have any teenage children?
Yes.
You could say you have had a party and maybe they made some mess in the house, right? The result would be the mess in the house. Okay. All right. So this is what we studied already. This is important for today. The tense we're studying today is very similar to this, but there are important differences. Okay. This is present perfect simple. What are we studying today, guys?
Present perfect continuous.
Present perfect
Thank you.
continuous.
And I'm going to ask Amoki. Could you say hello here, Amoki? Just a moment.
Hello. Hello.
So, Amoki, what do you see here? What is this? Can you just tell me what is this? Can anyone help her? What is this here?
Letter.
Letter.
Purpose of the letter.
Introduction.
Introduction paragraph.
Introduction.
Introduction. And now, very often, Amoki, we use the present perfect continuous tense in paragraph 1. Well, not very often. Sometimes we can use it. Amoki, can you see present perfect continuous here? Where is it?
Yeah. Who has been
Has been visiting.
Here it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And a bonus question for everyone. Does anyone see an error? There's also another error, not here, but does anyone see a small error here? Small error. Just a bonus question, extra question.
Now after the comma.
Yeah, Rima, we don't normally say now she in OET. It's better in OET to say she.
She is
She is now. Yeah.
now being.
That just sounds better. It's more natural. Today we're studying this though. Who has been visiting? Right? This is an example of present perfect continuous. Okay. What is the present perfect continuous? I'm going to ask Fatma. Can you say hello?
Hello.
We are studying this. Okay. Who has been visiting? It's called present perfect continuous. What is that? What is that? What is it, please?
The action is in the past, but
So past action, yeah.
during the time, and until now.
You mean with
The
duration?
action starts in the past and continues until now.
So past action with duration continues until now.
Mhm.
Is that right, guys? Is she right?
Yeah,
Yes,
past
yes,
still,
right.
still continues.
At 12
yes.
happening.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Okay. Like present perfect, there is a finished meaning and there is an unfinished meaning. Okay, so this is what you're right. This is one of the meanings. It's one of them. Okay, but it's not the full thing. Okay, it's not the full thing. Shall I teach you guys the two meanings, the finished and the unfinished?
Yes.
Shall we learn? Okay, so this is a good answer, but really we need to look at this. Okay, so we're going to make a little diagram again, and I'll show you the meanings. So we have an unfinished meaning. Okay, now Fatma, you said to me the unfinished meaning, didn't you, Fatma?
Yes.
You said it's always like an ongoing duration until now. Yeah. So with the unfinished meaning, right? Actually, so would it be unfinished here? Yeah, with this one, we can say, give me an example. Can you write me an example, please? Like, I have been studying
I have been studying, yes.
for. Can anyone help her? I've been studying for
5 years.
5 hours, 2 hours. Yeah, 5 hours is probably too much to study. Okay, so this one is unfinished. Does everyone agree this is unfinished?
Yes.
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 Yeah, right.
Yes.
let me just merge these. Sorry, there's a slight error here. Okay, so I've been studying for 2 hours. What if we say I have been studying?
Finished action.
Finished action. We need since and for again, probably.
It's a bit different. It's a bit different, the continuous. It's not like that. Okay. So let me explain, right? Let me just put these together. I'll just put these together like this. When it's unfinished here, guys, the unfinished action here, this can be an unfinished continuous action, okay? Or what else can it be, guys? It can be something else, like actually, no, I'll do this a different way. Let's just say this is an uncontinuous finished action for now, okay? Let's move to the finished one. It's more interesting to contrast them, okay? So the finished meaning, can anyone give me an example? This is more difficult now. Can anyone give me an example of a finished meaning? Yeah.
I have been watering the garden.
Let's have Mahiba, please, Farid. That's a good example, Farid. But Mahiba, can you try? Mahiba, you put your hand up if that's okay.
I have been living somewhere for 5 years.
Okay, so Bibi, you're going to come in, yeah? I have been living. Not quite. Let's have Farid. Farid, give us your example again. I have been
Watering the garden.
So is that finished? Yeah, I have been watering the garden.
Yes. If someone asks why your clothes are wet, I have been watering the garden.
Is that right, guys? Is this finished?
Unfinished.
No, it's not. It's finished. Okay. Another example of this would be, look, it has. The key thing, guys, is you've got to have good examples so you can really see. Farid, I like that example, and Muhiba didn't give me anything, so I like that. But what about this? It's more clear, Farid. Your example is good, but what about this? It has been raining. I think people will see this now. Is it raining now?
No.
Right?
Yes.
No.
It's not raining now. No. So this would be, we call this the kind of call this the result, I guess, or let's say evidence of a previous action. Does that make sense? It has been raining, or I have been watering the garden. Kelly, don't interrupt me if that's okay, sir. Right, I'll give chance to ask questions. I like the fact you do have all these questions, but I just want to make sure everyone's clear on this. This is a finished action. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone?
Maybe
All right.
he has been quit smoking.
Oh, go on, sir.
Yeah, he has been quit smoking.
He has been quit. Okay, so let's think about this.
Smoking.
He has been quit. Okay. Now,
Smoking.
what's wrong with this, Dr. Habib? What's wrong with that? Look at the differences.
Passive.
Can you see this?
Passive voice. There is no
Not
ing.
first continuous.
And we saw this yesterday, didn't we, guys? We saw yesterday that you can easily make a mistake between these two. This is the passive, Dr. Habib. Okay, so you need to say quitting. All right. But again, I need to make this clear. That's not a good example of evidence of a previous action. Things like it has been raining or Farid's example are good here. All right. One thing we need to think about is this. What if I say, I have been reading a lot of books lately? Am I reading books now? Am I reading one right now?
No.
No.
What is it talking about? Is it evidence of a previous action? Is it evidence, though? Not really. It's not like it has been raining. It doesn't really make sense. What is it? What is it?
I think here,
Hussein, go on, Hussein, or Ipek, go on.
It's a unfinished action, but it was today.
It is definitely finished. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of a finished action. So I have been reading books lately. Okay, why? Why is it? Why don't I say I am reading? I am reading.
That would be a simple present.
Would this be simple present, guys? Is this simple present?
Present continuous.
Continuous.
Continuous. Okay. So I think this is a similar meaning to the continuous meaning. I have been reading
Like recently stopped.
of books recently, right? So what is it? It's not evidence. I would say it's a recent habit. Okay, it's like an ongoing, right? It's an ongoing repeated actions. There's the idea here. Will I continue to read books? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I will. Okay. So we have these three main meanings. Okay. Now we have an unfinished one. We'll talk about this one later because it gets a bit complicated. But we usually use for and since. You guys are right. It would be for and since to make it simple. So I can say for 2 hours, or I can say since, guys, since what?
Since morning.
Since since 8 a.m. something like that. Okay. Now, what I want us to do is to think about this in terms of just writing sentences. Okay. So this is the positive. How do I make a negative? I want to ask Rima, how do I make a negative here?
I have not been
Go on. Where does the not go?
after the have.
Is this right, guys? I have not been. Is she right to put not here?
Yes.
It is,
Yes.
right? And please, please, please don't forget, what is this? What word do we call this?
Gerald.
Gerald.
Okay.
Present participle.
If I change it, Ismail or Fareed, if I say I have been studied, then what am I doing?
Passive.
Passive.
Passive. I'm making the passive in
Passive.
perfect simple. It's in perfect simple. Okay. So I've been studying since 8 a.m. I have not been studying since 8 a.m. What's the question here, guys? Everyone.
Have I
Have
been?
I?
Been
Study
How I been studying.
since 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Okay. All right. So focusing on these now, do you think that we can write I want to write some sentences before we say any more. Okay. Let's just get used to writing it, and then we can talk about these because there's many things to talk about here. All right. But we need to go slowly. I want you guys to write me an example sentence in the chat box. So for example, Aurelia, BB, what I want you to do, as usual, is turn these words into a sentence, but a present continuous sentence. So Aurelia, Khalida,
Alan.
can I say here, Mr.
Mr. Johnson has been visiting his grandmother.
Is okay. Now let's think about this one. Is this finished or unfinished?
This is finished.
Finished. Is it evidence of a previous action, like it has been raining, my children have had a party?
No.
In these situations, we're looking at like a house or we're looking at the garden and we're seeing something and we're saying, oh, that is evidence of, right? This would be more like a recent habit. Okay, Mr. Johnson's been visiting his grandmother recently.
Recently.
Is it possible that it might continue, guys? Do you think he might continue to visit his grandmother?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's part of the idea of present perfect. There's this idea that it might continue, okay? That's why it's important, okay? Very often. Okay, so go to the chat, guys. I want you to write in the chat box 5 sentences, as usual, just practicing. Some of them are negatives. I've tried to make this more difficult because I think sometimes I make it too easy. So you see this one is quite difficult, all right? Go to the chat box. Imagine you're in the exam and you want to write present perfect continuous. I'll be reading your work and I'll be discussing it. Okay, so start now, please. Number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Off you go. And just keep microphones off if that's okay. Sometimes we can hear you if you don't keep them off. That's all right. All right, we've got some sentences coming through. I'll just call out names and numbers and I'll tell you if it's correct, okay? So going from the very beginning, Eli, number 1. You need to say for a few weeks, Eli, okay? Mohammed, up to now, has been having treatment for diabetes. Okay, that's a different one, Mohammed. You can use these words, please. Khalida, migraines. Where's this one? Number 1. Yeah, that's good, Khalida. Again, so a lot of people are making mistakes with this. Don't worry, I'll explain later. It's very difficult. Mohammed, good. Ipek. So Ipek, for alleviating, no, you want to say to alleviate, okay? Bibi, you're the first one to get this one exactly right. Well done, Bibi. Everyone else has got it wrong, okay? Slightly wrong. Khalid. Your screen has been experienced. Yeah, Khalid, we cannot say ago, right? This is what I wanted to talk about in terms of the language. You can't say ago, can't say yesterday, can't say on the 19th, okay? We'll talk about that more in this class and tomorrow as well. Fatima looking good. Ahmad, Hamza, Amir looking good, more or less. Abigail, Emal, Rima, number 2. Good. Lucinda again, this would be a few weeks. It's a bit informal, a few as well. You can say the past few is better. Hasina, nice. Dr. Habib, Jamuna. Very nice. Keep going.
And I'm sorry, intermittent means not regularly, yeah?
Yes, as I said, I tried to use some more difficult words today. So exactly, it means not regular.
On and off, on and off.
On and off, and you
Okay.
cannot predict it.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
So you know when you take your car to the garage, is that Muhiba? Who's asking me this?
Yes, I'm.
The worst thing is an intermittent fault because they cannot repeat it, the fault. So you take it in, everything's fine. You go away, the problem comes back. You take it in again, everything's fine because you don't know when it will happen again. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Najibullah, Rima, there's some really great stuff here. It's very interesting to read some of this. Thank you, everyone. I would say Emal and Zainal, some nice stuff there. Bibi, really, really impressed with some of your writing. Hasina, good use of the infinitive. There's some good stuff here, guys. All right. Really, really nice. Okay. All right, so we're going to put the sentences in and then we'll talk more about this. And I want to talk also about the differences. What's the difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous? It looks very similar, doesn't it? It looks almost the same. So we'll talk about that as well. So number 1, Bibi, I remember your one here was very good. Can you say hello, Bibi?
Hello.
So you wrote a good sentence. Can you tell me what you wrote, please? Mr. Green.
Mr. Green has been.
Okay, has been.
The second one has been undergoing.
You want to do, can you do the first one and then the second one? So
Okay.
has been.
Mr. has been experiencing chronic migraines
Migraines, yeah.
for a few weeks.
Okay. Now, a lot of you were saying for few weeks. What does that mean if I say for few weeks?
It should be for a few weeks.
If I don't say
Length or
a few,
duration.
maybe Norzad or Ismail, it changes the meaning quite a lot, actually.
The length or duration of
It's
the problem.
finished.
In the
Few weeks.
last,
If I say few,
For
that
the
means,
last
is that a lot or is that not a lot?
Not a lot.
Right? If I say for few weeks, that means not very many weeks. If I say for a few weeks, that
Then
means
it's positive.
it just means, yeah, it's not so negative, Norzad. It's more like some weeks, right? So a few is more like some, right? But few is like not very many. Okay, so that's a good thing from BB. But BB, unfortunately, you and lots of other people, this is informal, slightly informal. What should we say that sounds more formal? For the
last.
Last.
weeks. Or you could say last as well.
I said in recent weeks.
Yeah, or for you could say in recent weeks. Yeah,
Previous.
like that. That's also good and formal. Was that
I
Norzad?
put the recent.
Right. Okay.
For the past, can we say?
Go on, sir.
For the past.
Yeah, there's different ones, but you could say over the past few weeks, for the past few weeks, over the last few weeks, for the last few weeks. All of these are good, all right? Now let's have a look at this. Mr. Jones, undergo. So you can come back again. Who was I speaking to? Was that Abigail? Let's have someone else anyway. Sen?
Yes.
Or Abigail, or we can have Amir.
Yes, sir.
Go on.
Mr. Jones
Yeah.
has been undergoing.
Ooh, has been undergoing. Does that sound
Yeah.
right, guys? I'm not saying it's wrong. Does that sound okay? Has been undergoing? I think it's okay, right? So has been going. Now, this is the important bit. What's next?
And has been undergoing a physio session regularly.
Can I say physio? Everyone, can I say physio?
Physiotherapy.
Now, this is a classic trick in OET.
On or
No. In OET, you will often see physio in the case notes. That is note form. It's informal. You should not put that in your letter. You should always change physio to physiotherapy. Always. Otherwise, you're going to lose marks on style. Okay. So Mr. Jones has been undergoing physiotherapy sessions. What's next?
Sessions regularly.
Good. You got the Lee. Very nice. Very nice. And then next?
To alleviate his back pain.
What does alleviate mean, guys?
To relieve from pain.
To decrease.
Relieve, to decrease.
Some people were writing alleviating. Did anyone here write alleviating?
Yes.
Yeah, that's wrong. You need the full infinitive here, Khalid. Okay. So to alleviate.
His pain and the back pain.
Sorry?
Is there any article here? His back pain or the back pain?
You can say his back pain or not. Yeah.
Alan, can we say
or nothing? Yes, go on.
Can we say regular physiotherapy session?
Undergoing regular. Yeah, you could and delete that one. Yeah, that's correct as well because it's an adjective and the adjective goes before the noun. Okay. Mohiba, you got your hand up. Can I help? All right, everyone, let's do this one together then.
No, it was from the previous. You answered my question. Thank
Everyone
you.
together then. Mrs. White.
Has been
experiencing intermittent chest
Tightness.
Now, you can't say tight, yeah, because tight is the adjective, right? So it would be tightness. Yeah, good. Okay, it's very, very nice. Let's have number 4. I'll have Khalid. Mrs. White again. Poor old Mrs. White.
Mrs. White has Has been.
Has been. Oh, go on.
Has been.
Yeah, this is correct, actually. Has been, of course. Has been.
Extensing.
What's the ing he needs here, guys? Can anyone help him?
Having.
Having.
Oh, having.
The main
Extensive.
verb is have. Yeah.
Extensive diagnostic.
Diagnostic test.
Now, Khalid, is it test or tests?
Tests, sorry.
Tests.
It's good, yeah.
Okay. And now what's next?
Test.
Like this, Khalid. It's like that one.
To detect
the cause of stomach cramps. Determine the cause of stomach cramps.
Yeah, the cause of stomach cramps. Okay. We often use this is called the infinitive, isn't it, guys? It's called the full infinitive to. We often use that after the object to say the purpose, the function, right? So I could say, I sit on a chair. Where's the subject of this sentence, guys?
I.
Subject I.
Where's the verb?
Sit.
And the object?
Chair.
Chair.
I could say to feel comfortable. Right? It's giving me what is it doing?
Object complement.
More information.
It's like the purpose. It's the reason why. It's the reason why, right? So I study OET to pass, hopefully.
Pass.
Not for fun, to enjoy myself. maybe not so much. Okay, so what about this? This one's really hard. Put your hand up if you think you can do this one, because there's so many different words. I thought I would make the last one really hard. You know, in OET, in the exam, you have to make difficult sentences. I'll try Khalida. It's nice to see you here, Khalida.
Hi, Alan.
Go on. So, Mr. Smith.
Has not been receiving.
Not been receiving.
Ongoing treatment.
Treatment.
Noun form, yeah. Okay.
For arthritis.
Okay.
And has not been experiencing improvement on his mobility.
Is it on, guys? Improvement on?
With his mobility.
In his mobility.
On or in? What do you all think? On or in?
In his.
So good self-correction there. Good self-correction. Now let's think about the meanings here, and then I've got more to say about these meanings. Okay, but this is broadly what you need to understand. Mrs. Green has been experiencing chronic memory for the past few weeks. What's the meaning? What's the meaning? Finished or unfinished?
Unfinished.
Finished.
This is the crazy thing. I would say this is unfinished continuous action. I know it's repeated. Let's put this here as well. You can also have like repeated but unbroken ones. Does that make sense? Repeated, ongoing. The thing is, this one is very similar to this one, isn't it? Right? But this is more about recent habits, and this one is just ongoing. You can think of this like continuous, right? It's like continuous. Okay. So that would be number one. What about number two? What about number two?
It's repeated.
Jones has been undergoing regular physiotherapies to alleviate his back pain. Again, I guess we would say this.
Finish, but recent. Repeated actions.
Mrs. White has been experiencing intermittent chest tightness.
Finish.
It's all the same, isn't it? They're all more or less the same. Okay. To talk now, this is what I always find difficult. Is it finished or unfinished if I say I have been having treatment? Is that finished or unfinished?
Finished.
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 Unfinished.
Been having treatment. Now the treatment is not. It does stop, right?
Yeah.
It does stop. So you can say it's finished. But also, is it going to continue?
But
Yes.
it's finished because it is for the not treatments for 1 week like that.
So does that make sense, guys? Just think about it as unfinished. It's easy. Just think I know you're stopping and starting and stopping and starting, but it's unfinished. And you're going to use usually, well, actually, you're going to use for and since, but you don't always need to have for and since. You don't always need that. Okay. So we'll talk more about this tomorrow. What I want to do to finish this class, is obviously that's tricky with repeated actions. But what I want to do now is just compare and contrast present perfect and present continuous. Is that okay? What's the differences? For example, I could say I have been studying since 8 a.m. or I could say I have studied since 8 a.m. That to me is more important for us to understand today because you want to use the right one at the right time. Yeah? You want to use the most natural one. They have the same meaning here. Don't they have the same meaning? An unfinished action, continuing to the present? Yes. Okay. So let's talk about what's the difference between present perfect simple and present perfect continuous. The difference. Okay. So present perfect, let's have present perfect continuous. Okay, here and present perfect continuous and present perfect simple here. Focus. What does that mean, Abigail, Rima? What does focus mean? When I say focus,
concentrate in one thing.
Focus, emphasize.
So if I say, I have been reading for 1 hour, or I have read for 1 hour, where is the focus in the continuous, guys? Where are we focusing?
Verb.
The verb.
Verb.
On the action, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reading.
Reading.
Here we're focusing on the action, the reading. So that's a difference between present continuous and present perfect simple. Here, am I focusing on the action here?
1 hour.
Hour time.
No.
Something else, isn't it? It can change, but it's not focusing on the action. So this has an action focus. Why would you want to do that in OET? Why would you want to focus on action? Mr. Green has been visiting for
Experience.
3 hours.
Finished action.
Why do we want to focus on the why is it important here to focus on the action?
Repeatedly.
Because if we use visited, it's passive.
Finished.
But look, I can say Mr. Green has visited for 3 hours. Okay, I can say them both, but this one is focusing, I'm emphasizing this. I'm just saying, why do you want to do that sometimes? Well, if you want to just emphasize how long, right? You want to focus this verb, visit. I want to say the visit is important. Okay, so that's the only difference here. You can use both. It doesn't make a lot of difference really, but we're just changing the focus to the action. Okay, what about this one though? How many, how long? If I want to say how many times, do I use present perfect continuous or present perfect simple? Put your hand up. Maybe
simple.
Or Maxime?
Present perfect simple.
Present perfect simple.
For how many?
You should prefer continuous form.
I have read 5 books. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
If you want to emphasize the quantity of books, you should prefer continuous.
We do the many here. The number would normally be used with present perfect. Okay. Yeah, and sir, unless you wanted to emphasize the reading and not the number, I have been reading 5 books. You could do that, but usually the number would be here. If we want to focus on duration, if we want to focus on how long, which one do we usually use?
Continuous.
I've been reading, right, for 10 hours. Does that make sense? Numbers, duration. Again, is it wrong to use the other one? No. Right? The differences are small differences. Okay? But you want to try and be as natural as possible. Okay, what about this one? Complete or incomplete? If I say, I have eaten a sandwich, is that finished or unfinished?
Finished.
Finished.
Finish.
Finished action.
Finished.
But if I say I have been eating a sandwich, what about now?
Maybe
Finished.
still
Also finished.
eating.
It's more like repeated ongoing action. Does that make sense? It's more like this one, recent habit. Does that make sense, guys? So there's a small change in the meaning. Here, I finished eating the sandwich, but that's important for the present moment, right? There's a result in the present moment. But here I'm saying there's been repeated ongoing actions. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Now, tomorrow we'll review this. We'll review all of this tomorrow, and we'll do some more writing. But now is a good time for questions. So I'll take some questions now.
One question.
Yes, go on, Farid. You're going to come in before everyone else. Go on, Farid, yes.
Yes, the habits, we will put this adverbial phrase recently, like we usually use or not?
Often we would do that. That's not an adverbial phrase. It's just an adverb. It's just one word,
Adverb.
not phrase. Often we would do that, yeah, to show what we mean. Yeah, to show I mean that. So yeah, it's a good point, sir. So for example, I could say, I am watching a lot of Netflix. Okay. What tense is that, guys? What tense is I am watching a lot of Netflix?
Present
That's continuous, isn't it? Simple, continuous tense. Okay. But often here we would say recently to emphasize that. Am I watching Netflix now? Am I watching? No. This is a recent habit again, right? So we can use the continuous, the simple continuous for the same kind of meaning, right? So yes, we can put this here to show that we mean it's a kind of recent habit, Farid. Okay, great question. I think also Khalid had an example. Go on, sir. So I can say, look, I have been watching a lot of Netflix. It's more or less the same meaning here. Okay. Khalid, do you have a question? Okay, Gaida, do you have a question? Put your hand up, guys, if you had a question. If you got your hand up, I'm going to say your name.
Yes, I have one question, please. About, can I speak?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. About the present perfect continuous and the present perfect about with the stated verb.
Oh, yeah, go on. States and actions are very
and
important.
Yes, and no, I know, no, and like, understand, please. This one, it's not clarified in my head. I cannot understand this exactly.
Yeah, great. So we'll talk about. I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow, okay? So basically, with state verbs,
we use we cannot use ing, right?
That rule is still true, even in present perfect continuous. Yes.
Yes.
So for example, I have been having I have been loving. You know,
we cannot say loving.
Yeah, because this is what is a state verb? What is a state verb? Everyone?
It's feeling, right? It's about feeling.
No action. No action.
Not an action, right? So it can be feelings. It can be just a situation, right? So if we say Alan has a car, is that an action? Has here?
No.
It's just a situation, isn't it? It's just so I can't say I have been having a car. This is what she's saying, and it's right. We can talk about that tomorrow. We have to avoid some ing verbs, even when we want to say, you know, if I want to say that, sometimes I cannot use the ing. Okay, for that. Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you.
All right. So tomorrow, guys, come back. We're going to look. I want to talk more about this one. And this, because we need to understand this a little bit better. We can talk about that tomorrow. We'll talk about state verbs, and I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen.
Welcome, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.